Guys, our friends at Ridge have done it again. After creating the world's greatest wallet, they have now launched the Ridge key case. You no longer have to be bulked down by your old jangling keychain. You got to try it out for yourself. Click on the link in the description below. Use the promo code Chael. That's going to get you 10% off. And look how good it goes with my Ridge wallet. The Ridge key case secures between 2 and 6 keys. It organizes your keys in a compact silhouette and folds out for easy access. There are 6 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and my favorite, burnt titanium. The Ridge team is so confident that you like it, they're going to let you test drive it for 45 days. If you don't love it, send it back, get a full refund. Go to ridge.com/Chael to save 10% today, or just click on the link below. Dana White talked about Colby Covington. He said that, hey, we're talking with Colby. Colby's ready to fight. We're looking to book him with something. Now, this is very relevant, because how are you going to get Colby to fight? I mean, getting Colby to the table isn't the world's easiest thing, and you could understand it from Colby's position, right? This is a massive draw who does a great job of going out and letting the world know. People call it selling a fight. I hate that expression, even if it's correct. Even if that is actually the correct, I don't like it. I don't like the selling of a fight. I like the idea that you're telling people when you're fighting, where they can watch, why this fight matters to you. I don't like the word sell. Hold that thought, though, because that isn't my gripe. Colby has not been overly easy to get into the ring to start with. Why? Well, because he's the clearest #1 contender that the sport has, and he can't fight for a championship. Puts him in a really tough spot. It does. Who could blame him for that? Becoming a victim of his own success. It's a hard spot. So when Dana comes out, he says, we're talking with Colby. We're trying to get him to fight. Okay, great. Let's take a guess of who. Because we've got Chimaev and Diaz booked up. There's a rumor that I believe of Masvidal Gilbert Burns. Now, I only believe that because Gilbert Burns said it. Masvidal is not out in the media talking about Gilbert Burns. He's talking about Leon, and for good reason. Not to mention, Masvidal did everything right. Masvidal hedged his bet a week ago and put his chips on Leon, of which happened to win. I mean, there's something there. You're going to have to get in the way of that. Of course, the obvious #1 contender is Kamaru Usman. Does it work that way? What do I mean by the most obvious #1 contender? We didn't have this information. It's relevant that you know. Here's a story, and I'm going to get you 90% of the way there. I never knew the whole story, and this is about 15 years ago. But it hurt Pat Militich's relationship with the UFC. And Pat said, I was told something, I counted on something, I relied on it, it didn't come true. It had to do with the Ultimate Fighter. And I believe it was quite simply that Pat was going to coach the Ultimate Fighter. Everything's cool in the gang. Everything's moving in that direction. UFC gets a phone call. BJ Penn. Out of nowhere. BJ wants to fight, and I believe it was Frank Yeager. Oh, and by the way, he's willing to do the Ultimate Fighter to get it. They had to go with that. When the UFC made these representations to Pat Militich, they were operating under the information they had. They did not have this new information. They had to go in that direction. And the UFC talked about that. They said, yes, we told Pat, we don't like to ever say something, but Pat's right. Pat has reason to be upset. We would like to make it up to him going down the road. Now, I'm only sharing this decade-and-a-half-old story with you because there's another tale along the way. It has to do with Alexander Gustafsson. Gustafsson takes a fight. It was a replacement fight. It was a dangerous fight. He takes on somebody called Rumble Johnson. In the very first round, lands a cross, lands an uppercut, and puts Gustafsson down. Fight's over. Rumble wins. Gustafsson's next match was a world title fight. Was it against Cormier? I was going to say it was against Jon Jones, but was it against Cormier? Either way, how do you go from getting knocked out in the very first round to a main event in for a world title fight? Very easy answer. Gus knew it was dangerous. It was a replacement fight. Lorenzo told him, you're the #1 contender, and if you do this match, you are going to remain the #1 contender. Okay, but it's relevant. It's relevant because when you're behind the scenes, there's a lot of deal making that goes on. We all understand that, don't we? Of course. We have no problem with that. But now our job, and what we like to do, is come out and guess what's going to happen. A more advanced way of us saying we're going to guess what happened is we're trying to guess what's happened already and been agreed to behind the scenes that we simply aren't privy to. Now, I bring that to you because I do agree with you. Kamaru Usman, this is very obvious. Kamaru versus Leon. Not to mention it's a trilogy, which a lot of people aren't talking about. Most people don't know Kamaru and Leon fought the first time. That's okay. We have a lot of new fans. We have a lot of new exposure. That wasn't a massively hyped fight. I'm just sharing with you. We now have a true trilogy, and we really get to build for that. Something special there. And it is the right thing for Kamaru Usman. History says Kamaru Usman gets to do this rematch, but we haven't talked to doctors yet. We haven't talked to commissions. We don't know some of these finer intricacies. And even if we do, and everybody says it's clear to go, we have Chimaev versus Diaz coming up, and we've been revealed, the audience, we have been revealed that this is a number one contenders match. If that was told to us, the audience, and Chimaev and Diaz found out the way we did, which is they read about it, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as if those two were told specifically, do this and here's what you get. And we don't know that. Diaz wanted to fight. He made that very clear. Chimaev wants to take on anybody and will. He made that very clear. I don't think that a promoter would need to say those words. I don't think that a promoter, if I'm to guess, needs to tell Chimaev, come out to Vegas and do this, or needs to tell Diaz, whose contract is about to be exhausted anyhow. So I don't think that conversation happened. If that conversation didn't happen and only we, the world, were told, of course things change. Sure they do. But now let's keep that thought and keep that theme, and let's go and apply it to Colby Covington, who's difficult to get into the ring as it is. The number one, a guy that was the champion of the world, the interim champion of the world, who never lost, and one day he wakes up and his belt's been taken away. I mean, before you want to go and judge Colby, it is a very hard walk that Colby's been on. So Colby's willing to come back. Huge draw. Okay, he's the interim champ. Make sure you understand this. He's the number one contender that doesn't get a fight for the belt. He's the interim champion of the world that never lost and is no longer the champion. He beat the BMF champion and was never become the BMF champion. I mean, try to understand this from Colby's standpoint. How are you going to get him in the ring? You're probably going to tell him and make a deal that if you fight and you win, you become the number one contender. I mean, that's just a great bargaining tool that a promoter has. But the promoter can only put it out there once at a time. I don't believe the promoter has put it out. I don't believe that the promoter has told Chimaev or Diaz, win and you fight for the belt. I don't think that happened. So the promoter still has that card to play. If he would like to play it for Colby, who are you going to put him with? This is where it becomes a problem. We're told that Wonder Boy is going to fight Rachmanov. That came from Errol Hawani, who's never wrong. We're told that Burns is going to fight Masvidal. We're told that by Masvidal. I apologize, by Burns, but that hasn't been confirmed by Masvidal. So possibly one of those two guys is still available. Lahal is out there somewhere and can't be ignored for much longer. Who are you going to put Colby with? That's all I'm asking. Who do you guys want to see him with? It looks as though the pickings are becoming a little bit slimmer. And once you do find it, you're going to find a very tough guy in a very hard match. What's in it for Colby? It's a fair question. Everybody's asking it. Every single fighter is asking it, but not every single fighter has been proven to have the level of success of Colby Covington. A number one contender who is the interim champion who beat the BMF. All of those things are gone. It's a tough spot. It's a really unique spot. Oh, and by the way, if you think that you solved the problem and you've got the perfect guy and you've got the perfect matchup, it comes back to what do you do with Kamaru Usman? Tell me Kamaru doesn't get to go fight for the belt. Come on. The greatest welterweight ever in the conversation, right? For the greatest ever and the only one to hold a candle in the conversation to Georges St. Pierre himself, the number one ranked fighter in the world. Kamaru, of course, come on. Of course, Kamaru qualifies. Of course, if the commissions and the dates work out. Of course, if Leon is agreeing. Of course. But what do you do with the rest of the guys? How do you weight them? How long do you wait? How are you going to get Colby to agree to go into a massive fight, probably your main event, 25-minute contest with nothing on it? It's hard. There's an answer. That's somebody else's problem. We're just asking the question. We're not here to answer, but try to ponder that. Matchmaking is not as easy as it appears.